This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to Tony at 12. I'm Tony LeBlanc, and today I'm in conversation with Mark Gaudion, Alderney's Chief Fire Officer, and we're going to talk about the considerably dry conditions and then take a look at the fire service operations. Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you, Tony. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. And it's good to have you on board on this. How long have you been involved with the fire and rescue?
Oh, that's a bit scary, actually. I joined when I was 19 back in 1984, so it'll be 38 years in October. Yeah.
So in for a gold watch eventually.
Hopefully a few years yet, but we'll see how we go.
Now, the States issued a press release the other day about the fact that, the island is tinder dry at the present time. Can you remember it being as bad as this, Mark?
I certainly can't remember it being as dry as this, not since I've been in the fire service, but I think back in the summer of 76 or whenever it was, that particularly hot summer, there was quite the brigade then had quite large fires, to the extent of it's virtually the full south coast of the island. So they certainly had their work cut out back then, but I can't remember it being as dry. It's not since I've been involved anyway.
And of course, stuff like gorse and bracken is highly combustible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we've had a couple of fairly large fires this year, as you know. The first one was actually started by somebody just clearing a bit of ground with a hedge cutting blade on a strimmer, and it just struck a piece of stone or a piece of concrete, and that was enough really to get it going. The fire did escalate quite quickly. Although they had a garden hose available at the time, it just wasn't enough. And again, it was a very hot day, so fire did spread quite rapidly. And then the other large fire we had at Torgy just a couple of weeks ago, we didn't know initially what the cause was. We just thought it could have been glass, which everybody is saying, as we know, is it magnifies the direct sunlight, and it acts as magnifying glass actually.
Yeah.
Which has caused a lot of fires, discarded cigarettes, etc., disposable barbecues. But there was nothing really to say that had been the cause, because it was quite a dull day. We just had a bit of a thunderstorm and a lightning, and we saw a photograph shortly after of a lightning strike in that area, which was literally just about 5 or 10 minutes before we received the call to the fire.
So you put that one down to lightning. I mean, presumably after each occurrence, you have to sort of go back and see what may have caused it. You do a sort of fire post-mortem, I guess. So from that point of view, you've obviously got to look at it from a close point of view. Now, these disposable barbecues, they're dreadful things, aren't they?
Sorry, Tony, I've lost you there.
Yeah. Coming back to the disposable barbecues. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you now.
Yeah. These disposable barbecues are an absolute horror, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean the other islands, they've actually asked retailers to withdraw them from the shelves. We haven't actually done that here, but I mean, we're quite fortunate here that people are very safety conscious. We did have a couple of instances earlier in the summer of a couple of bins, one of the large wheelie bins in the harbour area, and some bins just at the top of Bray Beach. They were actually caused by disposable barbecues being discarded into the bins, and unfortunately igniting the bins as well. But since that, we fortunately haven't had any problems. We don't really want to be stopping or asking people not to have barbecues. Obviously, you can do what you want to do within your own home, but certainly in the public areas, because these gorse fires, etc., always start in the most awkward of places. They're never easy to access, and so really, it really is about the prevention this time.
So really, the special comment to everyone watching is take special care at all times.
It is. Absolutely, yeah. And like I say, we are lucky in Alderney that people, don't do things carelessly.
Mm.
We're not a busy fire service, but these things do happen. So that just that extra bit of care at the moment will prevent these, or should hopefully prevent these things from happening.
Now, can we have a chat about the fire service itself? How many staff
Yeah.
have you got on there at the moment?
Yeah, we're currently running with 11. We're primarily a voluntary service, so we're 11 volunteers at the moment, and we are due a training session this evening. I'm happy to say that we've got a new recruit starting this evening, so that will take us up to our maximum amount of crew, take us up to 12, which is a first for quite some years. So it's really good to see young people still coming forward, volunteering for these types of roles. So yeah, really pleased with that.
Do they get any remuneration for call outs, or is it?
Yeah, there's we do receive a small retainer on a
Yeah.
monthly basis. So the crew are effectively on call 24/7.
Yeah.
As long as we get 7 or 8 crew, we can deal with most occurrences. But yeah, they are on effectively 24/7. They do get a small payment on a monthly basis, which covers them for being on call plus for training. So we train every Wednesday evening, and then if they do attend a call, there is an hourly rate for that as well. So
Yeah.
there is a small payment involved.
Well, that's fair enough, I think, because they're putting their lives at risk, and if they're on 24/7, it can be pretty inconvenient at times, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it is a big commitment, people still have a social life, but with the beauty of having, the 11 up to 12 volunteers, like I say, provided we get these numbers, some of them will say, we get an availability status on a daily basis. Each crew member will sort of report in and say whether they are available or whether they're not, because they might be on leave, etc. Going out for a meal or something. So we sort of monitor the numbers, and just to ensure that we do have enough crew at all times.
Did COVID cause a problem?
Well, it was. We were certainly on high alert with certainly for incidents.
Yeah.
That, extra PPE, etc. So it was a concern, but not quite so much for the fire service, really.
Okay. Now, if somebody dials 999, Mark, they get through to Guernsey Police Control. Is that correct?
Yes, correct, Tony. It's a joint emergency services control centre in Guernsey. It's based at the police station. It was slightly different a few years ago, where the fire service had their own control room and the ambulance had theirs, and Coast Guard, etc. But they're all effectively in one room now. So if you made a 999 call from Alderney, they would know pretty much straight away that the call is coming in from Alderney. They'll do a list of questions, what they call pro QA. Those questions will involve, the type of incident, etc. They may ask for your postcode, but don't be alarmed by the amount of questions that you are being asked, because as soon as that call goes through, they will be mobilising the necessary service, whether it be police, fire, or ambulance. So that it's all in the process. So, but they do need to get as much information as possible, and we receive that via. We do still have pagers, but we tend to use a mobile app nowadays called Everbridge. So that comes through the mobile telephone. You get it as you get the call and the call details either as a WhatsApp message, email, text, or actually an audible phone call as well. So there's it's belt and braces to receive all the information that you need.
Do they all come through to you, or are you able to delegate it? Do you take it in turn to actually receive the alarms?
No, everybody that's actually logged on to that system. You can take yourself off if you go on leave. You don't want to be receiving a fire call at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're in your hotel bed elsewhere. So you can just go onto the app and remove your availability. So you can manage your availability in that respect.
So the thing is,
every crew member will receive the call at exactly the same time.
So it doesn't have to filter into you. It effectively goes out to the whole lot, as it were.
That's correct, yeah. And then we carry a radio at all times as well, so we'll respond to that call into JESOC, the control centre, so they know that they can tell if we are attending by we acknowledge the message on the app as well. But then we'll also turn on the radio, give them a call, just let them know of our status. So we keep reporting to the control room throughout any incident as well. When we're mobile, when we're in attendance, any information that we feel is relevant at the actual incident, we'll pass that on to control room as well, just for logging purposes and for reports, etc.
Do I recall going back many years, there used to be a siren that alerted you?
Yeah, they did. So yeah, when I joined, that's all we had. The fire siren, which was like the old wartime siren. There was several sort of positioned around the island, and that was the call out process for the fire service, and that's when the lighthouse was still manned. So at that time, the 999s used to go through to the lighthouse, the keeper, because that was about the only 24-hour station based on the island at the time. We would get to the fire station, pick up the phone, telephone the lighthouse. So this was pre-radios and pagers, etc. And then the keeper would tell us where the job was. We'd jot it down on a board, so all the crew, if they were turning up at different times, would see where they would need to go. And yeah, that was it. So I remember actually my first call was actually November the 5th, 1984. It was a little fire just at the top of Little Street. So I remember sat at home and just waiting for the siren to go, because at the time it was inevitable that you're going to get a fire on November the 5th.
5th of November, not a good date for fire service, definitely. Coming on to the actual complement of stuff, how many appliances have you got?
So we have 4 appliances. So we have what we call water carriers or tankers. So they're effectively water bowsers. So they carry 4,500 litres each. So we're good for 9,000 litres. They are ex-Guernsey Fire Service. So we're on a rolling programme with them to purchase a 10-year-old vehicle every 5 years. So we've got we have a purpose-built fire appliance. We have a compact water tender, so that's effectively the main crew carrier that carries ladders and other bits of equipment. And we also have a 4-wheel drive, which is mostly set up for rescue, so road traffic collisions. We have cutting equipment on there, and it's also our towing vehicle, because we do the rope rescue, etc., cliff rescue. So we have trailers with all sorts of equipment in as well. So four vehicles all in all, yeah.
And you've got a resident mechanic?
We do, yeah. We have Neil. He's so Neil and myself are the only sort of part-time employed members of staff. So Neil looks after all the mechanical side of things. Yeah, he's very valuable member of the team. Although he's not operational firefighting, we really couldn't do without his skill and knowledge when it comes to keeping everything going.
Who actually funds the equipment? States of Alderney?
Yeah, it's all States of Alderney. Years ago, Mark Gaudion, my chief, when I started, he was also running the Coronation Pub, and I remember used to do raffle nights then, and he used to do a lot of fundraising for items of equipment. But now it's all States of Alderney funded. So we have budgets, we have revenue and capital projects that we run as well. So just to there's always something needed, but we're quite cautious of what we do buy. Obviously, we need to have all the latest PPE and breathing apparatus, etc., and all the modern equipment. But we try to ensure that anything we do buy has got more than one purpose, because it's just to make sure that everything's in place, really.
Now, you've got water hydrants in town, have you, that you can plug into, or
Yeah, we do. There used to be, well, there never actually used to be many hydrants. There's only about 7, I think, when I first started. But with the state's water projects that have been going on in recent years, every time they work on water mains or install a new main, they do put a hydrant in. So we even have one out by the lighthouse now. So there maybe not so much up around the cliff areas. We don't have anything up there, but this is the necessity for carrying, our 9,000 litres of water. But the hydrant system in the town is extending all of the time, and it's so that's really beneficial to us.
do you have problems in the town with pinch points, people parking, this sort of thing?
It can be quite tight. We certainly don't take the larger vehicles through town just unnecessarily, but we would, with the length of hose, etc., if in some of the narrower streets, provided we could get as close as possible, we can always run hoses, etc., relay water through the larger vehicles. So everywhere, most places are accessible within the town. As I say, with the gorse and bramble bracken fires, they're always in the most awkward spots. So with those, it's about getting as close as we possibly can, really.
What about training for the crew? That's carried out. I know you've said that you have weekly meetups and things like that, but do they have to go off island on occasions for extra training?
We don't currently, but that is something hopefully in the future that we will be able to achieve. We do train with the airport fire service. We get a lot of assistance from Guernsey, both the local, the town fire service and the airport fire service, because we have crew members on here on the voluntary service that also hold time at the airport. So we work very closely together as well. So, and we've recently undergone our updates for our road rescue, our cliff rescue from off-island providers. So we had a week refresher on that recently. Unfortunately, we've not actually been able to do anything since 2019, but with any outside providers, but we're playing catch up now.
Yeah, like a lot of organisations are. Presumably, if you have a really bad situation, say in town, you can call on the airport guys to come out and assist. Is that right? Yes,
we've certainly called upon them several times. That obviously depends on air traffic at the time. If there's an aircraft inbound or something like that, they couldn't actually be released until all the ops are satisfied at the airport. Provided that, because the airport would have to close then, so that is all dependent on them. But we've certainly had them out assisting us in the past, and it's really good to know that they are there, and that is our only form of backup. So we can be.
And they obviously bring their kit they bring their kit as well. So they bring their fire tenders along as well if necessary.
They do, yeah.
Okay.
That's
right. That's good.
And,
So that's, and I suppose a quid pro quo is that you can assist them if they are ever in a situation where they need help.
Yeah. So any inbound aircraft or anything that happens at the airport, that is standard procedure is to call us as well. It's just for support. So any incident at the airport, they do call on us as well.
Now you mentioned rescue.
And with the gorse fires.
Yeah, they helped you there.
No, I was just going to say that with the gorse fires, etc., it not only sort of stretches all our capabilities, but and there could be occasions, if it is close to the airport, it would actually close the airport because of the smoke affects the inbound aircraft, etc. So it's quite a knock-on effect if we get a large horse fire.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned just now rescue, cliff rescues and things like that. That's a pretty difficult and dangerous thing to have to carry out, isn't it?
Yeah, because the cliffs here aren't solid rock there.
No,
Once you get
quite.
over the edge, say Telegraph, it's just like a shale, sort of
Yeah.
very, very loose grassy bank. I mean, there are certain areas of rock, but yeah. So I mean, the good thing is we don't get recreational climbing over here because it's just not the type of cliffs and rock faces that people would want to climb.
Yeah.
Fortunately, those instances are few and far between, but that we have carried them out in the past.
And very effectively, I believe.
Yeah. Well, all the equipment is all up to date, so everything these days is procedural, and every item of equipment needs to be tested, recorded, etc. So we are really quite lucky with the equipment we do have.
Yeah, that's good. Tell me, if for example a boat caught fire in the harbour, would you get involved with that, or how would that work?
We have had boat fires, but it's more so, if it's alongside on the quay or something like that, whether the harbour authority, they probably wouldn't bring a boat on fire onto a berth.
No.
But we can actually provide portable pumps, etc. If it meant actually dealing with it would just actually be a leisure vessel type fire that we would deal with.
Sure.
No, we wouldn't do ship firefighting because that is a totally separate and more specialised system of firefighting.
And presumably most of them have got sort of fire precautions on board in terms of sprinklers and things. The bigger ones.
Well, certainly the ships have got inbuilt firefighting systems. Yeah.
Do you get many cases of electrical fires? People's chargers overheating and setting fire to the house.
Yeah, well, we have had a few in the last couple of years actually, where just things like vape chargers and mobile phone chargers, if they're left on bedding or something like that. These things do get quite hot.
Yeah.
Although such a small location as we are, we have had a couple of cases recently, so it is something really to be aware of. And again, things like the rechargeable bikes and all of that sort of thing these days. I mean, provided you don't if you do have them indoors, just don't impede your exit if you've got something on charge, or make sure you are charging when there's somebody in the house. I mean, it's just basic sort of safety awareness, really.
So don't put it on and then go to bed.
Not ideally, no. And to extinguish these fires, I mean, we carry a couple of specific fire extinguishers for all the batteries, and they're not cheap.
No.
So but it is a specialised media that you need for extinguishing these fires. I mean, you can actually get a fire blanket to cover a car these days. These electric cars, vehicles. We don't actually have that luxury at the moment, but maybe that's something for the future.
Do you get many gas fires, bottled gas or oil fires where the old central heating tank goes up?
We have had a couple, over the years, things like barbecues, etc., but also purging gas cylinders. If we had a large fire several years ago now where it did actually burn through the gas pigtails to the gas cylinders. And that was quite disturbing. It sounded like a 57 kilo gas cylinder, purging gas is a bit like a jet engine passing over. It's really but there is ways of dealing with that anyway. We've had small barbecues, gas barbecues and that sort of thing. And the kerosene tanks, we've had a couple of those that have actually been involved in fire. So running fuel fires, not ideal.
And I believe on the odd occasion you've had to pump out flooded houses.
Yeah, certainly. Well, several years ago we had quite a deluge, particularly wet winter, and the island, I think, was literally full of water at the time, and it just couldn't take any more. So even properties at the top of the island were prone to flooding as well. So we had a busy time then. But yeah, so
I've never
all of these things do happen.
I've never quite understood how property at the top of the island can get flooded.
No, I think that was purely just the water table was just right at the max,
right at the top, and sort of spurted out.
Yeah.
What
Not
about
like at the moment?
No, quite. What about cats up trees?
Yeah, well, there certainly has been animal rescues. We had a dog stuck in a car earlier this year. We've had, funnily enough, goats. We've rescued goats on rope rescue, and cats. Yeah, I mean, cats not so much up trees, but certainly stuck on roofs, etc. But all types of animals. I think prior to before I started, I think we had a horse in a first floor barn out at the campsite.
Oh, really?
It managed to climb up some sort of a staircase, and and in the swimming pool as well. So just all types of animal rescue.
We must get a bit serious again. What do you think people should have in their home as minimum precautions in the event of a minor house fire?
Well, we do have the fire law on the island, which covers hotels, guest houses, etc. So there is a certain requirement that they need to have fire safety equipment installed. But certainly within your own home, I'd certainly recommend smoke detection. I mean, it doesn't have to be a wired-in system, but if you were building new, certainly a wired-in system, it would be highly recommended. But the domestic detectors these days, they're very good. They're sealed, so you can buy sealed units with a 10-year guarantee, provided they're sited in the correct location. I mean, people, you hear people saying, "Oh, my smoke alarm kept going off." That would purely be because it's in the wrong location or it's the wrong type of detector. So you can, minimum requirement, a bit of detection. A lot of people would like to keep a small fire extinguisher in the home, fire blankets, etc. It's always good to have something in place. But certainly the detection for early warning if something did kick off is highly recommended.
So smoke alarm would be right at the top of your list.
Yeah. So smoke, and even you can get the battery operated heat detectors now as well for in the kitchen area. Because if you put a smoke in the kitchen, you're just going to get no end of problems. But some form of detection. Because with extinguishers, it's all well and good people having extinguishers, but maybe they're not confident to use them. But some early detection is certainly the thing to have. But we're here. I'm here. Most mornings on station, so if anybody wants any advice or anything like that, they can always pop in, and quite happy to pay a home visit and give advice as well. So
yeah, it's all about trying to make sure it doesn't happen, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, certainly the prevention side of things is that's the big thing.
Now finally he said, recent Jubilee Awards, that was rather good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so out of the 11 crew members, I think eight of us actually received the Jubilee medal. So it's so that was good. So I don't know if you're aware, but each of those recipients that they had had to do you had to be in service 5 years prior to the medal being awarded. So that's good. We've had at least 8 people on here for more than 5 years, and certainly the other 3 at the moment have done in excess of a couple of years. So they're good dedicated team actually.
And very pleasing that you get that sort of recognition.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, a few of us have got the the gold and the diamond and the platinum now. So as well as in excess of 20 years service, which, as I say, is pretty scary, really.
Yeah. So you see yourself going on for quite a long time after this?
Well, I'd like to do a cut. It's one thing I've always loved doing it and really enjoy it. So it's something it'll be a wrench when I have to give it up, I think. But
well, let's hope that's many years away. Mark, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for sparing me some time, and Very kind of you to, make that offer to members of the public if they want a bit of advice to pop in and see you.
Thanks, Tony. Good to see you.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Yeah.